Good evening, everyone. I now call the meeting to order, and we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. We do have one item to report out of closed session, and that has to do with suspensions and expulsions, and I need a motion to readmit a student, case number 001.
So moved.
Second.
That's moved by Director Hanel, seconded by Director Gonzalez. Roll call vote, please.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Pugh? President Jay?
Aye. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Jen, do you have something? Do you want to?
Yes. Sorry. I need to pull E5, please.
Okay. Anybody else? E5. Any board member requests for information? Ron?
Yes, I would like to request that we get the numbers on anybody that has, any student who has enrolled starting on the first day of school or later, and if it could be broken up by school, by grade level. If it's possible, I'd like to find out the attendance zone each of these students is from as well. And then if we can, I'd like to be able to maybe break this down by socioeconomic level as well, and then see if we can compare years, if that's possible, say the last 4 or 5 years, if we have that information. If not, that's okay too. This is just a starting of a dialogue. Thank you.
Then we're going to move on to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion? This is for the August 10th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
That was Director Gonzalez and Director Christoph. Roll call vote, please.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Abstain.
President Jay?
Aye. And now we're going to, I'm going to introduce our newest board member, student board member, Ross Thorson, and he's going to take an oath of office. Just pull this, is this on? Okay. So Ross, before we do this, I'd like to welcome you to the board, and we hope you enjoy our time with us. And maybe someday you'll serve as a school board member, whether it be here in Santa Rosa or wherever you end up. It's a great responsibility, and we're glad that you're going to have this experience with us. So, if you raise your right hand and repeat after me. You want to speak into the microphone? I, Ross Thorson,
I, Ross Thorson,
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies,
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
that
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Welcome to the board. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Yeah. Very good stuff.
So now we're up to public comment, and I have several speaker cards here. So this is public comment on items not on the agenda. Members of the public may address the board on matters within the subject matter of its jurisdiction. Please submit a speaker card to me, you've done that, prior to the meeting. Upon recognition by the board president, please approach the podium. The board shall take no action on discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda except as authorized by law. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Should a member of the public have comments that pertain to a complaint against an employee of the district, the board advises that the matter should first be pursued using the appropriate district complaint procedure. So right now I have 3 cards. The first speaker is Jeremy Delatorre. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jeremy Delatorre, and I am here tonight as a concerned parent and concerned coach of Maria Carrillo High School. I've been here before, and I will continue to be here until we get these issues met. Our school is deteriorating. It is falling apart, and we are tired of coming and speaking on this issue and having no action taken. I took photographs as a coach of our track on April 27th with a hole in the track and concrete exposed, risking any athlete to injury if their spike were to meet that surface. I then had to Band-Aid the surface myself with tape and paper towels just so we can hold our meet. To this day, that hole has still not been repaired. We've been told by the district they would look into it, they would send out a survey. To this date, that hole is still there. Our track and field are deplorable. We can no longer ask our athletes to compete on these surfaces. Our practice fields are in horrendous condition. The training facilities and the competition facilities at Maria Carrillo High School are falling apart. The school was built 20 years ago. It has not held its own. This board, this district, put a bond measure on the ballot in 2014. That passed. They then spent a year paying an outside firm to come in and do a survey of each campus on how to have that bond money spent. A significant amount of money was invested into that firm, and that master site plan for each school was prepared. Last year, those master site plans, and for Maria Carrillo specifically, an all-weather track and field with a new press box and stadium upgrade were part of that plan, and it was approved by this school board. Unfortunately, to date, we have still not heard of any movement on those upgrades and on those renovations. If it went to paper today, if an architect came in and said, this is what we're going to do today, then that means next year it would be built, and our student body would spend a year playing away games. Nothing has happened yet. My son, a junior track athlete with Maria Carrillo, is officially 1 week in to his junior year, and he is already guaranteed never to have a safe, competitive athletic surface to compete on for the rest of his 2018 graduating class athletic time. That's unexcusable. We've been talking about this for over 10 years, and it is still a major issue. We ask that the school board move on this immediately. Unfortunately, as parents, our hands are tied. There's only so much we can do. And fortunately for us, I assume, 2016 is an election year, and there are 4 seats on that ballot. So perhaps we need to start looking at new blood to try and make these things happen, because unfortunately, they haven't happened. I had a daughter go through 4 years, graduate in 2014. My son's now a junior. That's 7 years, and still nothing's happened. My request is simple. Make Carrillo whole again.
Thank you. Next card is Cameron Delatorre. Sorry.
Hi, my name's Cameron. I'm a junior at Carrillo. I do track and field. The condition of our track and field is horrid. The track is worn down almost to asphalt. There's holes in it showing asphalt. The field has potholes and half of it's dirt. I'm in athletic training at Carrillo, and I can't tell you how many injuries I've seen of the ACL of our football players and soccer players from stepping in holes and bending their knee the wrong way. That falls into the safety of the track and field. It's not safe to play on, it's not safe to compete on. Then that falls into equity, and it's going to become a problem because our parents and athletes are not happy with the condition of the track. Then there's the whole school pride. It's embarrassing to have our track and field in this condition. People are not playing sports because of it. People don't want to play soccer on a field that looks embarrassing. People don't want to run track when the track's not safe to run on. People don't want to play football because they know the track's not safe. I've already had to quit playing lacrosse because of the action taken by the board. I don't want to quit doing track. I love track. It's my only sport I'm doing. I'd like to keep doing it. And yes, I just want a good track and field to run on for me and my friends to play sports at Creo. Thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker card I have is Mark Kirby.
Guess we'll keep the theme going for this evening. So in there's some of the pictures of the track that the last two speakers were talking about. Good evening, board members. My name is Mark Kirby, and I'm the Vice President of the Athletic Boosters at Maria Correa High School. At the last school board meeting, the district facilities team mentioned that the planned facilities upgrades for early 2017 and the following summer would be brought to you next month for approval. I'm here representing the boosters and the 399 and rising parents and students who have signed a petition in support of installing an artificial turf field, new track, new press box, and new irrigation system at our school. We want to make sure that these projects are included in that plan. At the last meeting, Mr. Morehouse referred to the Tangram landscape study of Korea in 2014. I've included some highlights for you. On page 3, it says the landscape at Korea is approaching its 20th anniversary. Page 17. An artificial turf field would result in a permanent water use model consistent with current, with current ordinance. On page 20, quote, the football field is an engineered soil section that presents issues that may be outside the ongoing capabilities of the district maintenance staff. Page 21, installation of artificial turf. Number 1, may help prevent injuries. Number 2, reduces maintenance costs on the field by 75% annually. Number 3, saves up to 2 million gallons of water annually. And number 4, provides potential revenue generation from renting this facility. Page 22, recommended steps. Consider artificial turf for the field. Additionally, our press box was condemned by the district 1 month before the fall sports season. As of Monday night, there is still no working PA system for the field. This press box was used for football, soccer, track and field, and school events. A new press box is cited in the facilities master plan to be included with the field replacement. With our press box now condemned, this is yet another reason to move forward with the entire project as soon as possible. I've included pictures of our condemned green press box and the visitors press box that we are now supposed to use. Note that there is no door handle to enter the visitors press box. We'll see how that plays out. I've also included pictures taken today of our track with the numerous holes in the surface and the bare patches in the middle of our playing field that still exist, both of which are safety issues for our student athletes. The entire middle portion of the field is primarily weeds and clover, which will not stand up for very long once play actually starts on the field. Please help make Korea whole again by ensuring that the field replacement project happens in the summer of 2017. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we're going to move on. Are there any public comments? Now we're going to move on to Santa Rosa Teachers reports, and we'll start with Santa Rosa Teachers Association. Ms. Ola King-Clay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, the first 7 days of school were filled with anticipation, laughter, stress, and a touch of class. The longest 7 days of the school year. We got them down. We're ready to roll. Well, we are off and running, and students and teachers are very excited about this school year. The buzz around the campuses is one of pure energy. The learning season is underway. Thanks to the district, we now have several more elementary counselors, a lot of math teachers, more training in Google, and a new technology system that will be rolling out in the spring. Our first SRTA event is coming your way August 30th. August 30th. It's at Pioneer High School.
What was the date?
August 30th.
Gotcha.
It's, oh, you mean I'm low? Whoa, okay. This event, once again, August 30th, 5:30 p.m. at Pioneer High School off of Fulton Road. The school board candidates forum will be hosted by our PAC team. It's political action. And once again, you're all invited to come out and hear what the candidates have to say. This month of August is very short and to the point, so there's not a lot to report out in reference to activities. However, September will kick off our SRTA and SRCA meetings and gatherings. All the committees are activated and ready to go. By the end of September, everything should be rolling along, and I'll have a lot more information to share with you. But one side note, I had the opportunity and the pleasure to go out to the fundraiser for Elsie Allen High School's ag department. Totally impressed. The food catered by Maria Creel culinary team, excellent. The company at my table, superior. The money raised, outstanding. We're talking double figures and thousands. I was so impressed. So I'm looking forward to whatever school, high school has another fundraiser, and hopefully I'll see some more of you out there. Any questions for me?
I just wanted to remind you that you and I have to talk about setting up a date to come up with the agenda for our first TADCOM meeting in September.
Correct.
Okay?
It will be a Friday at my site.
Thank you. Which one?
Which site?
Which
Rincon
Friday?
Valley.
No, I forget if we made on the second or third. Which one are we doing? Third? We'll consult with Lori. I know we have a deadline to, but
Yes,
I'll be
we will
emailing you
meet.
tomorrow, okay?
And I have a time change, so I'll let you know that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
We do not have a CSEA report tonight, so then we move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Jay. I think Ms. King-Clegg described the opening of school extremely well. I'm very excited to be able to open the school year as the superintendent. I got to see all of our staff go out to the sites and see the wonderful things that were happening. Everything was very calm for the start of school. I think we did have some challenges, to be honest, with our new switch over to the transportation. But we are handling those, and we're working hard to iron out any of those wrinkles, and looking forward to West County taking care of our student transportation. I am so excited to let you know that we now have 12 students at the Hope Academy, TKK. I think it's just going to grow from there, so we're very excited about that. I want to thank, before I forget, I want to thank Natasha and Jerry Deakins from Maria Carrillo for orchestrating Maya Dorado, the Olympian, coming back to Carrillo and speaking with all the kids in an assembly for the entire school. I also want to thank Pete and Joe McCormick, who also then orchestrated Maya going to Pioneer High School and speaking to students there. What more could you say about seeing someone come back after all that she had accomplished to Santa Rosa and talk about, so humbly, about her experience? What I loved most was what she said about school, and that was, that she is a public high school graduate that went to Stanford, and that it's okay to be a geek, because she was. I just thought that was so humble of her in all that she's accomplished. So I thank Jerry, Natasha, Pete, and Jill for making that happen. And I think that's, oh, no, I've just spent the last 2.5 days with Joe Bowler, a professor and researcher around mathematics. And I can say that when I went into the summit, the leadership summit, with about 180 math teachers and math leaders, I would not consider myself a mathematician. In fact, that I just really don't like math, and I believed that I was not good at math. After the 2.5 days with Joe Bowler and the leadership staff there, the math people there, I can say that I learned a lot about myself in math. And so if I can do this at this age, where I am right now, I know we can do it with our students as well with regards to math. So I'm looking forward to sharing more about what happened in the Leadership Summit around math with Joe Bowler.
Thank you. Under President's Report, I'm going to report that last week I went to the Education and Business Partnership Breakfast, which is an annual event that honors our teachers. I'd like to thank the Pacific Gas and Electric Company, who's the major sponsor of that event. The speaker was Kathy Goodacre with CTE, the CTE Foundation, and she spoke on why all levels of education need to engage with local business and industry to help students explore career possibilities. We know that Sonoma County Office of Education is doing that. Santa Rosa City Schools has been doing that for a very long time, and we completely agree. Many of our teachers were honored. I'd just like to comment on the elementary level. The 2 teachers that were won an award was David Haney from Luther Burbank and Laura Lee from James Monroe. Middle school was Sandy Martin and Caitlin Whale. And then high school, thank you, and then high school was Christy Coleman and Joe Sims. It was a great turnout that morning. We were very, very proud of our teachers, and there were so many devoted people to education. It was a really wonderful morning and a great start to our school year, which has become quite a tradition. And for me, as being my last time on the board, that will be the last breakfast that I spend doing this. It was great for me to see so many people that contribute so much to our school and to our children. So thank you.
Congratulations to those teachers.
Yes. Do we have any board committee reports? I don't think so, do we? None. And board member reports? Laura?
Just briefly. Want to welcome everybody back to school. Oh, thank you. Want to welcome everybody back to school. And just want to mention 2 things. The first one, on a sadder note, I wanted to mention the passing of Diane Foster, who was a part of our Santa Rosa community and did have dealings with Santa Rosa City Schools. And I want to extend my condolences to her family. I did attend the memorial on Sunday. But on a better, brighter note, I wanted to thank Santa Rosa High School and Dominic Ortiz of All Star Barbershop for the backpacks and haircuts. I went, and that was pretty exciting. I was there for the last part when they were giving out all the prizes. And I just wanted to mention to SRTA that I really think that you guys should put Dominic Ortiz up for a CTA award as a community, for community person. I think he's done a lot, and he deserves the recognition. Thank you.
Frank? Larry?
I got an email from Joe Clendenin, who started the I Do 26-2 program. This is where kids walk or run a combination of 26 miles, and they get little tokens. We do it in the elementary schools, and they attach them to their shoes or wherever, and they take great pride in this. We have all our elementary schools participating. We're now up to, he reports, we've added about 2,000 new students for next year in the county for a total of 13,000 students. So that's pretty impressive.
Jen?
Thank you. Yeah, I went to the Barbers and Backpacks as well, and I also was so impressed with both the event and Dominic and Dominic's contributions. And I actually afterwards said, I had the same feeling as Director Gonzalez, that we should really honor this guy somehow, and he's one of our graduates. He's one of our graduates who didn't take the straightest paths and really came out, with a pretty impressive life and giving attitude, and so I really want to thank him and SRTA for partnering with him, because it was a pretty great event. On Monday, Director Gonzalez and I were both at Piner for a community meeting to get input about the lights. The Piner's been waiting patiently for stadium lights for a really long time, and I want to really thank and congratulate the staff for putting together a great event where you really were careful to hear community input, and you had lots of options to present to the community, and I thought you guys did a great job at that. The LC Ag fundraiser is, I think, one of the most fun events, and you guys should put it on your calendar every year, but it's really one of the most fun fundraisers, and I'm always really impressed at how that LC Ag department has been really adopted by a lot of the community that has nothing to do with LC, and have nothing to do with Ag, but have really just adopted this program, and it's a really fun event, and I love going every year. The breakfast, always a great way to start off the year. I love hearing about all the stories about what the teachers do. Every teacher does something that's way above and beyond, and hearing specific examples of that is really great. And I'll tell you, Maya Dorado I was really lucky. I went to scooted out of work for a little while to go see her at Piner, and was awestruck, starstruck just like all the kids. And I was so impressed by her, and we should be so proud as a community and a school system, I think, to have her as our representative. So that was real fun.
Ron? Okay. You're going to do a CSBA, NSBA? You're on.
Oh, thank you. I'd like to pass out to the board a policy brief on transgender issues and youth. The National School Board Association is working on this issue on a national basis with a lot of different states. California tends to be very progressive in this area, and so I've attached in case the questions come up about what is the position of the organizations, it's in the packet. The second thing I'd like to share is I returned from our annual meeting, a leadership meeting in Chicago. I was there a week, and it was warm and hot. But the conversation was good and interesting as well. And this issue of transgender youth and many states banding together to sue the federal government has become a major issue, and it's kind of polarizing our organization. On the other hand, we also had National School Board Association has a political action committee called NASBAC. And so through that arm of the organization, we can do endorsements. We run a strict political campaign on a national basis. We had some of our staff attend both the RNC and DNC conventions, interview candidates, and have conversations. I'm going to ask to circulate later to the board the fact-checking of the two groups, just so that you can see what's being discussed and what our future may hold. And lastly, I'd like to place on the board agenda in the near future a resolution on Proposition 51, which is our college, which is called Kindergarten through Community College Public Education Facilities Bond Act of 2016. And there'll be some impact to our district because a lot of this is used for matching funds. And so that's my report. Thank you.
Did you want the other propositions that CSBA is endorsing as well? Did you want us to?
That would be good, yes.
Yeah.
We should get them all
Yeah.
on.
Okay, we'll work on that.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Ross, I apologize to you. Would you like to make a comment about anything that you've done this summer, or when we do our board member reports, it's not mandatory that everybody speak, but I just didn't even give you an opportunity. So would you like to speak to us tonight at all? Okay, thanks. Just didn't want to not give you an opportunity there. So now we're moving on to consent items, and I need a motion. Turn your mic on, please. Thank you.
School in A5.
I will move, now I've lost the agenda,
I think it's
E1
E1.
to E4.
E1 through E4 and E6 through E10.
10.
Move approval.
Second.
So that was moved by Director Close, seconded by Director Christoph. Roll call vote, please.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Hanel?
Aye. Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
President Jay?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye.
And now we pulled E5, and Jen, would you like to speak to that?
Right, just there's an error in one of the contracts, it's the second contract, and so I wanted to pull that, and I asked staff to bring that back with the error fixed. So I'd move approval of E5 contracts number 1 and then 3 through 14.
Great. Need a second to that?
Second.
So that was moved by Director Close, seconded by Director Pugh. Roll call vote, please.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
President Jay?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye.
Okay, and then the other contract will come back to us? Yes. Okay. So now we move on to the F items, and we're going to start with a discussion item on the summer school update.
Good evening, President Jay, Superintendent Kitamura, members of the board. As you can see, the team is beginning to come to the table. We have a presentation tonight with the 2016 summer programs. I'm going to turn the mic over to Kelly Dillon and Lori Fletcher, and they will introduce the summer school team. Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Kitamura and board members. I'm Lori Fletcher, and I'm here to introduce the recap of the 2016 summer programs. As you can see, we had 8 programs that we ran this summer. You'll see it in a minute. From Kinder Academy all the way through the senior year, which included students who should have graduated in June and took classes to make up their credits. We served almost 2,100 students, and we had a wide variety of activities from enrichment at the elementary level to teachers doing project-based learning at the credit recovery in the high school area. So now I would like to have our administrators from those programs talk to you. They'll start by introducing themselves and their program.
So my name's Valerie Jordan, and I was the principal for the extended school year for special education. Every year, students are invited to attend, and generally they all do. It's written into their IEP, and they get services so that there's no regression. They also have, this year especially, had the opportunity to do more community-based instruction due to making a partnership with Santa Rosa City Transit and providing a presentation which allowed them to ride the buses for 30 days for free. So that covered the whole summer school program, which meant a lot of kindergartners got on that bus this year. So it was great. Are there more pictures? So they went to the movie series. They also went to bowling at Double Decker Lanes. They saw museums in Sonoma County. Field day is always a highlight. That's like the Thursday right before the end of the year, and all the kids get together. That's the high school kids and the elementary, and they all help each other and do sports events. This year, first time we did a special day class for learning handicap with a credit recovery. We had 6 students attend, and it was English or math, and they each earned 10 credits. So it's a pilot plan, and we're hoping to do it again next year. So, thank you.
Michelle Smith, and I was the principal for the investigation summer camp that we held at Helen Lehman School. So we did a project-based learning for our elementary schools. We served 312 students, Kinder Academy through 5th grade.
We participated in all kinds of projects. They learned about oceans, animal habitats, the human body. A teacher did poetry. They did traveling to Mars. They diagrammed their organs. They created models of whales to understand the sizes of the whales. They performed their poems in front of other classes. Some of our teachers had gone to the STEAM training before summer school, so they changed and they did a bunch of STEAM activities all summer school. And then their basic reading and math instruction was done via technology.
My name's Aida Diaz, and I was a principal at Biela. Well, I am the principal at Biela, and I was a principal at Biela for the summer school. I did the Cal State Teach Math and Language Arts. This past summer, we decided to have one strand of math and one strand of specifically for language arts. We had 153 students that started, 138 finished in both strands. We had 3 classes of language arts all day and 3 classes of math all day. Till about 1 o'clock, and it was incredible to see student teachers from the Cal State Teach program. There was 2 per class, so they had a lot of support, plus their professor instructors, plus we had a lead teacher in each section. And to be honest with you, I was a little skeptical that students wouldn't be bored for 4 hours of doing language arts, but the program is really geared to be not your traditional pen and paper type of thing. It was more kinesthetic learning with technology, with movement, with dance. They created their own animations and storyboards, so they wrote their stories, they created them with pictures, and they created them on their laptops, and they actually were quite impressed with all the work that they did. And then in the math, they did building bridges, doing egg drops, and the fire department came again and did the egg drop for them, and so they were really excited to be there. And they wanted to know if learning can always be like that, and I said it should always be like that. And so they were really excited to be there. Attendance was great, and hopefully we can continue to partner up with Cal State.
Good evening, my name's Ed Weber. I was the principal for the Maker Camp program. We had 4 teachers, we had about 65 students, and it's probably one of the best times of my experience for being an administrator. What we did is we worked on culinary, where the kids actually got to make cookies, make cakes, they made whatever they wanted to try out, and we made an opportunity for them. We dealt with wind power, we did rockets, air power rockets. That was a go-kart made out of wood and just by 2 tools. So it was a great experience. They all loved it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Booth. I was the administrator at the Move Academy at Piner High School. The original purpose of the Move Academy was to kind of re-engage and reinvigorate incoming 9th graders coming into high school before they start high school, and specifically for kids that had struggled a little bit in middle school, so kind of refine that curiosity and that zest for learning again. This was the 3rd year of the Move Academy, and this year we were very targeted about active recruiting of those students who were most struggling in middle school. We had some very passionate teachers who were very cognizant of the fact that struggling students, or students who have struggled, may just not have that confidence. So when presented with multi-step projects, they're initially a little nervous, but our teachers did an incredible job of scaffolding them through those projects and helping them really find a sense of success and getting to be on the Piner High School campus. Started making the linkage between school and college and career feel more immediate, as being 8th graders a few months ago. 2 years prior, they were only in 6th grade, so it seemed very long ways away. So we started seeing their confidence building, them really seeing that the work that they have to do to get them where they want to be really starts now. And we were able to go on 2 amazing field trips, first to the California Academy of Science, Golden Gate Park, and the DeYoung Museum, and you can see some pictures up there from those experiences. And then we also took them to the Exploratorium, and many of those students had never been to the Bay Area before, and we got them down to San Francisco twice, which was an incredible experience for them. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Dr. Kimberly Clissold, and I'll have to say it almost feels like yesterday that I was here talking about summer school over at Elsie Allen last summer. This year we held summer school at Santa Rosa High School, and it was very befitting because we almost doubled in size. 851 students, grades 9 to 12. It was quite an experience. I want to recognize my two co-administrators, Dr. Jamie Worthington and Lori Fletcher. We actually needed a team this year to run the school, and we could not have done it without the help of our wonderful staff. We also had two returning classified staff members. We brought with us our attendant staff from the year before, and also our main office secretary. So we really got to hit the ground running and serve quite a few students in multiple ways. 24 teachers, which was quite a bit just to hire for summer school. They were enthusiastic. They brought new things to the table that we hadn't seen previously, a lot of project-based instruction, a lot of use of technology. The Chrome carts were a wonderful addition to what we could do with students on a regular basis in terms of project-based instruction. And we had the additional benefit of having aides in most of our classrooms to help students work one-on-one who were needing that little extra push to kind of get their project started and get their work done. So overall, very successful. We're still looking at the data with that many students, that many teachers, that much going on. There's definitely some data for us to mine and look at what we did well, what we might look to do in the future, and to make some real concrete recommendations from there on out.
Sorry, can you hear me? Jamie Worthington, I'm happy to have been part of the summer school admin program.
Thank you.
Would you like me to start again?
Yes.
Jamie Worthington, very happy to be part of the summer school admin program this year, and share some experiences from our summer high element. We had 90 students enrolled, and out of those 90 students, 16 graduated with a diploma. So that was very exciting. Those 90 students earned between 1 and 20 credits each. So one of the great things about the online Cyber High program is that it does offer variable credits. So you can individualize what each student needs. That was great. And I'd also like to thank Chick-fil-A. They offered us coupons, as many as we wanted, to distribute the way we saw fit. So in the last week of each session, we offered coupons for entrees to students who had no attendance or tardy issues. The first session, we offered over 200 coupons for the last week, so that was exciting, and same thing with the second session. So that was great. Thank you very much.
Okay, good evening. I'm going to speak about the enrichment program at Elsie Allen High School. We didn't get to see it this year because we were a little busy at Santa Rosa with all the students we had, but this is the second year that Elsie Allen has offered an accelerated Algebra 1 program for the students who are coming into their school from Cook and aren't able to take an Algebra 1 class. Last year, I think we had 10 students enrolled. This year, we had 29. All 29 passed and are now successfully enrolled in a higher level class, which is really going to put them on their path to a college or university of their choice when they graduate. So it's really exciting, and next year I'm sure it'll be their third year. I would go by and see that and watch how he's given the instruction, because the kids are spellbound. We were spellbound last year when we got to see it.
Good evening. Ryan Thompson. Normally I'm an assistant principal at Piner High School. And before I get going about summer programs, I have to give a round of applause and support for this team of administrators and leaders behind me, because pretty much a year ago from today, this entire group you see behind me and next to me started planning out these summer programs for what was so successful this last summer. So we spent an entire year planning and brainstorming, coming up with ideas, and really putting this together. And I had the pleasure, of course, in my position this summer, of going to see a lot of these programs and seeing all that hard work pay off. So I got to give a lot of props to my team back here. So, yes, thank you. I also got to go see, of course, in my travels, to go see Lawrence Cook Middle School and the Mariachi Camp and the One City Arts programs that were there. This was the second year that we had the Mariachi Camp and the One City Arts program, which we talked about Maya Dorado earlier, and her coming back and visiting, giving back to the schools. But Jose Soto, who ran the Mariachi Camp, talk about giving back to your community. I mean, he runs such a dynamic mariachi camp for those students, which the high school students who participated in the mariachi camp did earn 5 high school credits. So that's another benefit of participating in that. But that program was so dynamic. The One City Arts program was great. One of the projects which you see pictured here the students participated in was interpretive art, where they kind of created trees. And the trees were supposed to reflect their own lives and kind of their family, how they see themselves. So it was really, it wasn't just, putting, paint on canvas or on wood. It was just really representing something, so it was meaningful to the students, and that was awesome. And of course, it culminated in a presentation and a performance at the Luther Burbank Center on July 29th, which I did not get to see, unfortunately. But as you see pictured here, the mariachi students had some wonderful T-shirts that the Luther Burbank Center printed up, and they look very festive. So it was a great experience, and once again, a lot of support and props to my team back here. So,
Thank you very much.
All right.
I'm sorry. One more slide. I'm not rushing you.
That's
That
okay.
sounded like a little bit like a wrap-up to me, so I missed
Not
the cue.
quite.
Go ahead.
Almost. I just want to express just our kind of pleasure with being able to provide the variety of programs we were able to provide this year, from serving our Kinder Academy students all the way to students graduating high school. So it really was a team effort in terms of planning and really looking at what had worked the previous year and how we could grow it. And so as we look forward, we will begin, just as Ryan said, any day now, really in the very near future, to start looking at what worked well, what we want to continue, and really how we can continue to grow the program to serve more students and more families. And so you can see here some of our first steps, which will be determining programs, locations, and really starting pretty quickly on staff. We have found that the earlier we start, the better, just out of providing people the opportunity to make plans and to get themselves up and running and get administrators working on their programs early has worked really well last year. So in closing, we do want to share with you, and I'm hoping Ryan can help me here get to the main screen because technically challenged at times. There we go. So we want to share with you, in closing, just a little video that might give you an idea of the programs and give you a little glimpse into some of the experiences our students had this summer.
Today you learned how to do a block print with the blue and the gold ink, right?
For these cones, you want a different color. The reason we want to stay with this color is because that will help with your optical illusion.
Good.
Spread it all around town, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Really great.
So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share
Don't
tonight.
don't all leave yet, because we did this last year, just like you said. It does feel like it was just yesterday that we did that. Remember, everybody went back to their seats, and then we dragged you all back down, so just stay for a few minutes. So I can turn to the board and say, it's comments, questions, I'm sure there are a few. Ron, then Jen?
I want to thank you all very much for your hard work. This is, when I first joined the board, we were sliding into the Great Recession, and summer school, essentially enrichment summer school, was not an option. So I'm very pleased to see what's going on. I have visited the Maker program a few times and Project Move and seen the mariachi bands, and I think we're really on the right track with this, and I really appreciate it. I hope we can keep expanding and opening new opportunities for students. I do have one concern, and I've expressed this year after year, and this has to do with, we have 2,000 plus enrolled in summer school, right? But half of those are credit recovery, right? People that did not succeed in regular school. And this number, I've asked, that we develop a strategy to try and reduce that number. It seems very high to me, 851 students in credit recovery, another 90 in cyber high. So I think for me, the challenge that we face is, if we can reduce that number, that we can add more enrichment classes is what I'd like to see. But my question is, are we talking about a strategy to reduce the number of kids that have to take these programs? That's a yes? Lori, you want to?
We are working on our alternative ed program. To turn it off. Okay, we're looking at developing more spaces at each of the 5 comprehensive high schools for alternative ed, where once the kids start failing in 9th grade, we catch them and get them caught up on their campus that they're homeschool. So hopefully that will reduce some of the numbers that we see in the, we hope so. But we're in the planning year, so you're welcome.
Jen?
First of all, thanks for the really great report. You guys, it feels like you practiced it or something, but that was really good and really great video. So thanks for the report and thanks for all your hard work. This seems like such a successful summer in so many different ways. And it seemed like a ton of kids, and so I went back and looked from our board report a few years ago, and it seems like, if I'm right, we have tripled the number of kids that we're serving in the summer in just a few years. So that is pretty great, and you deserve some congratulations for that. I love all the enrichment programs, just like Director Christoph, and it's such a great opportunity for the kids. And also, it must be nice for teachers, too, to get to do some different stuff and be creative in the summer. I really like that we did that math program for the Cook kids. I think that was such a good opportunity, but because not just because they get to move forward, move up, but also it's just a good way to learn math when you are only doing math. And that summer math program, I think, could be really good. And it made me think that that might also be a good thing for kids who are struggling with math, is give you time to do math where you have more time, and you might be able to do it in a way that offers an opportunity for them to understand it in different ways. And it's just a nice way to learn math, is to just be focused on math. So I thought that was really cool. Anyway, great job. Laura?
Yes, I want to thank you all as well. It was a great report, and it was, as Director Kristoff said, it was really nice seeing all those pictures and of the enrichment stuff, because as he said, we had lost that when the money went away, and so it was really nice to see that these are back and that kids can utilize them and go to these great programs, especially those kids who wouldn't be doing other enrichment type activities during the summer. And I really like the video that you showed, so I was hoping that that will go on the website, because I thought that was pretty cool. And it was great to see the lunch program, too. I'm so glad we're able to offer that to the students, to the kids in our community. And also, though, like Director Kristoff, I was surprised and rather taken aback by the numbers of kids who have to do credit recovery. I mean, when you add the two up, it's like a comprehensive high school. I mean, that's the number of kids that we're dealing with. And so it really brought to me, again, that something, we need to do something, so that these kids aren't failing. And I would really like to hear a report about, I don't know, and what would be easiest for the district, but quarter semester, I'd like to know how many freshmen in particular are failing, how many Fs, and if there's a way to find out by how many students have one or more Fs. Rather than, total number of Fs. I'd really like to keep track of that so that we can see by high schools how they're doing, because as you said, you have to catch them and work with them somehow. But that was the one, I would say, downer about the report. But otherwise, thank you so very much for all the effort and time you put into this. Much appreciated.
Larry, then Frank.
I echo my colleagues. Great report. Thank you for your work. I was curious, how many teachers apply for summer school? Do you have an excess of, how many do you accept? Yeah, how many apply to teach summer school?
I'm not sure exact number. I know that at elementary we had 17 Santa Rosa City School teachers that served the elementary program.
Is there an excess of applications, or do you interview
Not
for
typically.
them? Okay.
No.
And I just also wanted to say I really am impressed 4 hours of language arts and the way you handle that. It's good to see the kids involved and having fun learning. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent report. It seems that there is a seat for every child that has a particular interest, and we're really tailoring our curriculum to meet their individual needs. I do have a suggestion, which is can be ignored if you want, or thought about more if you like. Would it be possible to maybe next year have a coding camp? We have so many young people who want to learn about coding, what coding means, and there's a drive for that. And then secondly, and this is more for the board to think about in the future, right now there are 6 states that require students to pass an online class before the graduation of a high school diploma, because they recognize that internet, online, is an integral part of being successful. And that number is only going to grow. And so I think the more we can put online as resource for students, the better we serve them for a future that certainly will have an online presence. The fastest growing program at the junior college is online courses. More students are enrolled in online courses at our college than attend the Petaluma Center. We're talking about thousands of students. And I don't think we are preparing our students to be career and college ready if they walk in with a deficit and not even know how to operate through an online course. I mean, this is the future, and I just wanted to share that. But a course in coding would be really cool, too. Thank you.
Thank you. Ross, did you have any comments you wanted to make?
I just wanted to say thank you to all of the staff that put this whole thing together. I think this was a very useful program for all of the students, and I appreciate the diversity of things that were taught. And just, yeah, you did a really great job. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to repeat what everybody else said here. I want Diane to wrap up, or she wanted to wrap up. But again, we all really appreciate all the hard work that goes into this coordination and the dedication to our students. It's just remarkable the time I've been on the board, what we've been doing, as Ron said, not very much enrichment and things like that, just a program that's so broad and addressing so many different needs here. So thank you very much. And it's also wonderful to see the enthusiasm that you have for this. So if we see that here when it's all said and done, we're sure your students are seeing it too. So Ms. Kitamura.
I want to acknowledge John Giacomini. He is the teacher from Elsie who really came up with this idea about the algebra class last year and its expansion of it to this year. I think that I just want to acknowledge him. I also want you to meet Beth Burke. Beth Burke is our communications coordinator, and she is the mind behind the videos. So the videos that we've seen for the last couple of years, Beth has worked together with staff and myself to produce them, and we are very fortunate now to be able to have her on staff, beck and call all the time, 24/7, to be able to spread the word about everything that we do. In particular, the bond. I think we need to do more communication around the bond, and then all the great things we do in Santa Rosa City Schools. And lastly, I want to thank the Board of Trustees, because it is your approval and understanding of our LCAP that has funded extended learning to the degree that it has. The faith that you have in our staff to be able to produce innovative, quality programs such as this is to be commended, and I'm actually very proud to be able to work with you to be able to have these kinds of things happen. It is our goal to expand in both enrichment and the program in general. The more students we have engaged in extended learning during the summer, the better this community will be, the better the kids will be. So I look forward to getting back to the drawing board and can come up with those innovative things that I know you will come up with. Something around online courses, what I heard, would be great. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Donna.
Oh, sorry, we have one more comment. Frank.
I have a question for the superintendent. It seems like the mariachi camp is growing. Do you think we'll ever get to a point where a high school might actually have a mariachi band?
You must have been reading my mind. So we are looking towards, we're definitely going to have mariachi as an after-school program this coming year. And I'm going to actually meet with Jose Soto about how do we embed this within the school day. And so he is so excited about that. I don't know if any of you heard him say that mariachi is not a district's program. It is not Luther Burbank's program. It is the community's program. And I think if we have that mindset and we can work together with the community to bring it, embed it within the school day, I just think it's going to benefit the district. So that's what we're working on.
Okay, now we're ready. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we move on to F2, discussion of the Santa Rosa Charter School for the Arts.
Good evening, President Jay, members of the board, Superintendent Kitamura. Tonight we're here with Aaron Jobson, Kevin Chapman from QKA, and Steve Eichman to give an update on the status of Santa Rosa Charter for the Arts construction and modernization project. As we know, we started that project about a year ago, and we're ready to let you know where we're at on that and the next steps moving forward.
Thanks, Rick. So as Rick said, we just want to kind of give a quick update. I'm going to turn this over to Kevin. Kevin's been the project architect, and he's going to kind of walk you through where we're at so far.
Okay, I'm going to walk you through the main three buildings. There are two other small buildings on campus, the Kiln Room and the Stage Addition, and there's various site improvements as well. But there's three main buildings, as you probably all know. The first building being the administration building on Humboldt. It's that first building you can see. This building is roughly 75% complete at this point. All the exterior is done on it. We're down to interior finishes and some minor touch-ups on the outside, but in fairly good condition. They're finishing up some casework and just interior finishes. Building B, there's the outside of the building. So you can see all the paint's done. There's just a little bit of touch up, but they still have a lot of paving to do around the building, as you can see. But the building itself is fairly complete on the inside. Building B, which is the music, dance, and drama building. This one's probably in the 65 to 70% complete. Most of the exterior is done. They're prepping for all the flat work outside. There's still a lot of interior finishes that need to go in, all the tack boards, all the acoustic treatments for the music room. The wood dance floors have to go in. They're still working on the interior of the black box theater, which has quite a bit of work still to go. Building C, which is the two-story classroom. This building has been dragging along the slowest of all of them. It's probably about 60 to 65% complete at this point. They are all closed in with all the doors and windows being installed, all the sheetrock's in. They're just prepping right now to put all the T-bar ceiling in, all the tack boards in, all the infrastructure that goes along with it. The elevator shaft, all the steel has just been recently put up, as you can see on the exterior right there, and the current condition of the interiors with the T-bar being in, we're just waiting for the acoustic panels to go on. As you can see, the chipboard's in, it's just waiting for all the tack wall to go in as well. Here's a couple pictures of the exterior of B and the interior of B. The interior is the dance room. As you can see, they're just waiting to put up the mechanical equipment and the wood floor for the dance room. There's an interior picture of A, so most of the cabinetry, this is the reception area of A. Most of the cabinetry is in, so this is just a quick photo. And the exterior of B, as you can see, it's fairly well complete. They're prepping for all the concrete flat work around it and all the site improvements. To go over the project schedule, the original completion date was July of 2016. Actually, it was late July, so about a month ago. General contractor is Midstate out of Petaluma. They've had significant delays. The current contractor schedule is showing a completion date of October 21st. The staff at the charter school is planning to move into the building over the Christmas break or the winter break. However, Santa Rosa City Schools, QK, and Counterpoint Construction Services are all concerned, looking at the school, that they will be finished by that date, and possibly by the end of this year, this calendar year. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn this back over to Aaron. Oh, sorry, one more. So there's a couple things that have happened. There's been some unforeseen conditions. We actually hit the foundations of the old Fremont School that was demolished in the 1970s. Same thing with the annex building from the original Santa Rosa High School. Both these buildings were demolished to about a foot under grade and then buried. So when we started digging in there, we hit a whole bunch of foundations that no one knew existed. There's been contractor and subcontractor performance issues on the site, including the elevator, which is a deferred approval item, which has taken a long time to get approved through the state. And there's also been some rain delays that have delayed us a little bit.
So we also wanted to just kind of quickly remind the board kind of what the scope of the work of the project was and how that relates to the bond. As you may remember, the original design for this project was completed way back in 2012, related to an application for funding from the state, but that we had to really limit the scope of work of the project at that time because the funding was limited and uncertain. So we did not include work in any of the existing buildings other than the ones we've talked about so far. With the approval of the bond measures in 2014, we had to move very quickly to get this project under contract. As many of you probably remember, we didn't have time to go back and address any of those scope issues to add any additional scope of work, which would have required reapproval by the state. So after the approval of the implementation plan a few months ago, that identified additional improvements that would be made at the Charter School for the Arts as well as every other school. And so we've been working on finding ways to incorporate those into this project as it makes sense and is would be efficient to get those things done. This is the kind of quick site plan of the school. You can see the building A, B, and C that Kevin just talked about. You can also see the gray buildings there, and those are the ones that we haven't really touched as part of this project. So the multi-purpose room, the 4 existing portables up on the Orchard Street side of the site, as well as the existing kind of 1950s classroom building, library, and portable on the bottom right corner of the site. So as the project exists right now, when the school comes back, those rooms will look largely the same as they did when they left. The other thing we've been working on is that the site scope of work did not include a lot of improvements to the playground in that site as well. As I'm sure you remember, one of the third grade classes had been working on that last year. So since the wonderful presentation that they made to you, and I had to follow, a few months ago, we've worked with them a little bit. So our team and the construction team met with them and got to see the wonderful presentation all over again, the longer version of it. And then we've been working after that to figure out how can we incorporate some of their ideas into the project. How can we take some of those great ideas and find ways to build them in a little bit. In conjunction with that, one of the parent groups, or the parent group at the Charter School for the Arts has applied for and been granted a grant to provide some playground equipment. The district also has some funding that's available through the Office of Public School Construction due to a grant that was applied for many, many years ago to replace that playground equipment. So we're moving forward now with implementing some of those design strategies. And that work will be completed after the buildings are complete. This is kind of our interpretation of that, where we've taken the idea of the path, the natural path running through the site, and been able to provide some of that in a decomposed granite surface through the play area. We talked to the kids about how cutting that decomposed granite into the asphalt probably didn't make the most sense, and it would be a lot easier and more cost-effective to do that as like a painted path on the asphalt. So that's what we've proposed. Also creating a garden area, which is that hatched area with kind of over by the buildings on the right-hand side of the site. So cutting out an area of the asphalt and providing garden beds there for the students and the staff to use and take care of. And then we'll also be working now with everyone pretty quickly here to move forward with replacing the playground equipment, much of which what playground equipment there was in that area was damaged and destroyed when the tree fell over there, kind of around just before we started construction here. So our next steps, we are all working very hard to do everything we can to help Midstate Construction complete this project as quickly as possible. So that's QKA, the district staff, and Counterpoint Construction Services, the district's construction manager. We're all working every day with them to make sure that we answer their questions, that we move things forward as best that we can. Part of that is we kind of made a decision to minimize any additional work for Midstate. Make sure that they get the work done that they have before we move forward with anything else. So some of those improvements that we were considering kind of adding to the scope of work for the existing buildings, we're going to hold off on for now and find other ways to do those as we move forward. We'll be finalizing the design for the playground area. And one of the things that we're going to do as well is see how things go over the next month, and by October 1st, make a final decision on whether the Charter School for the Arts will move back over winter break or not. We need to make sure that there's plenty of time for everyone to plan appropriately for that move and be prepared for it, and that we can be confident at that point that it's going to happen. We don't want to be in a situation where we have to change plans late in the game. And I think that's pretty much it.
Frank?
You mentioned there were some things that aren't going to get done and that we're going to look at these at a later date. What are those things?
So those are the improvements that were never in the scope of work for this project, but are things that you approved as part of the implementation plan. So those would be providing new AV systems in the existing classrooms that weren't touched, repainting those classrooms, repairing some of the ceiling tiles and roof and things like that. Those kind of long-term maintenance projects that we'll be doing eventually at all the schools for those existing buildings.
So, but we're having to delay this because of the troubles with the contractor?
Yeah, the contractor's been behind schedule.
Then why is that acceptable?
It's not.
then what are we doing about it?
At this point, we're really doing everything we can. So we're working with them to make sure that we're talking about the schedule every time we meet with them, trying to keep them on task, make sure that we're answering all of their questions, and using really every tool that we have to make sure they're moving forward.
But basically, there's no penalty. It doesn't sound as if there is one.
There are some things that can be explored at the end of the process, at the end of the construction process, but right now we're focused on really just doing everything we can to move it forward and get the work done.
I mean, this board at one time approved the construction at Maria Carrillo. They built it in a year. We built Elsie Allen in just about a year, a whole campus, many buildings. And I find it really troubling that we would employ a contractor that was unable to get the work done in an official, in an expedient way.
Yeah, so do we. I think it's definitely been disappointing, obviously, and frustrating for us. It's, we had a 12-month construction
So we would probably
schedule.
recommend to remove them from the bid list in the future for contracts
It's
in the
definitely
district?
something to consider as we look at pre-qualification. We look at how you contract future projects. I think obviously anything we have to do, we have to stick within the legal rules and the public contract code and how that can
But there
happen.
was an agreement, or at least an understanding, that they'd be moving in back in July.
That's what the contract that Midstate signed. That's what the schedule and the duration in that contract was for, yes.
I know we had a little bit of trouble once getting some things done at one of our sites, and I remember the contractor having to pay a fine per day. This has held up our students moving back to their campus, and it doesn't even sound like it might be ready for the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that's a distinct possibility at this point. And I think what you're referring to is called liquidated damages, and that's something that we can explore once we get through the construction process. It's something that happens at the end of a construction process, but at this point, we're really focused on getting that construction done. And
Now,
then,
the issue with the Discovering Foundation, it shouldn't have come to a surprise of anyone. We ran into the foundation when we cited the multipurpose room there about 15 years ago. So it couldn't have been a surprise. It was obviously not planned for. And why is there such a substantial cost overrun? There have been, maybe that I'm using the wrong term, but as I recall, it's about $700,000, which is about 10% of the cost of the whole facility was change orders. What happened there?
there has been a lot of added scope that we've added to the project. As you may remember, we designed the facility in 2012. And so as we now are using those construction documents, there have been some things we need to change, particularly around technology and what's provided in that in the building. And so there have been some additional costs related to that, some of the unforeseen conditions we mentioned before. But most of that has been related to things that we have been able to add, not in the other buildings on campus, but in the buildings that are part of this project to provide better learning spaces to address some of those issues. So that's most of what those issues have been.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, and that wasn't so much, that's been part of the delay. That hasn't been, there's been some cost issue with that, but that's not a significant part of that.
I have grave concerns. I have grave concerns that we are in a situation where we don't have a clue as to really when we're going to occupy the facilities. We have parents that are now contacting the board who are getting really agitated by the fact that we're so over time in getting this done. I'm not getting a sense of comfort feeling that this will be resolved. There are no concrete answers here. I'm grabbing at air. Yeah. And so I'm concerned about that. And I'm concerned about the fact that there's been so many additions and things that weren't accounted for. I have concerns about the architect in that regard. So to me, there's a lot of issues here. And the idea that we can't even guarantee that we'd be in there at the beginning of the year is just not acceptable. And nor should it be.
And I think, there are a lot of different ways that schools can contract now for school facilities. And this was a publicly bid project through the public contract code, and we have
But what
certain
I'm worried about
limitations.
is we have a whole host of contracts that are going to be let go. We got a whole host of buildings that are going to be remodeled. And if everyone is going to run into these problems, then this is going to be just a nightmare for this board. I mean, this project was, I thought, well-planned. We had worked with an architect. They should have known what was in the ground wasn't in the ground. And unless we can improve this immediately, I don't know we cannot count on anything being done on time or within budget based upon this presentation tonight. I'm worried about the future and all the other construction we have going on here.
Jen has a question before we go to Jen, and then Ron, I know you want to speak. At our last meeting, we had a report on this topic as well, and we were having a hard time getting contractors to fulfill some of our bond projects around the city, around the district, because there simply are not enough of them. And I know that speaking to someone in the North Coast Builders Exchange just today, he said that with the downturn of '08, so many of our local contractors had to leave. They couldn't make any money here. And I think that's part of the fallout we're seeing now. I agree with your concerns. But this is, I agree, and also agree with what you said, this is going to keep on happening for a variety of reasons. And then I'd just like to say, when by law we have to go with the lowest bidder, that also is a problem. So, but that is the law. I want to turn it over to Jen for a question, then Ron has comment, because the question pertains to this current discussion.
Yeah, I think it seems like superintendent is ready to address some things some concerns Frank validly has, and I just wanted to add a question to that then. And that I'd like to understand the discrepancy between the projection dates. To me, it's a big deal that the general says I can finish by October 21st, and then there's an architect and a construction manager that says, actually, we don't think you can even finish 2 months later. I'd like to understand the discrepancy in that reasoning.
And you don't have to answer that question right now.
I can tell you that, the contractor puts together their schedule, they present it for us to review. And what we're telling you is that in reviewing this schedule and based on their past performance, we're very concerned that they won't be able to meet it. And I think, we totally understand and share your frustration in this situation, because the reality is the district doesn't have a lot of recourse in this situation where a contractor isn't meeting the contract, isn't performing. It's one of the reasons why districts often explore other contracting methods other than using public contract code, where past performance, where qualifications can be considered more thoroughly as part of the evaluation process. And I think that's something you should really consider going forward. Looking at your options there, that'll be something as you get to the next round of projects that I know, staff is already planning to talk with you about how can we do this so that we can have more confidence in the contractors that we work with, so that their past performance, their qualifications, how well they've delivered projects on time and on budget before, can be an important part of your selection process. In addition to the value that they can, the monetary value that they can bring to the table. That happens a lot. A lot of districts that we work with do that, especially on projects that are on tight schedules, because when we contract projects there and their performance matters to whether they get the next job or not, there's a lot greater success in being able to meet those deadlines and meet those targets. I think this project has been particularly troubled by this. This is kind of a really exceptionally long duration for this kind of project. I think some of the issues that you mentioned about just lack of workforce have definitely been involved, but it's still pretty extraordinary and frustrating and challenging for obviously for the district and the students and the staff to deal with.
So I would say that the board would be in agreement, Diane, that we would like to learn more about that alternative that you just explained to us. Ron and then Larry.
I'm going to start with a positive, which is it's a very pretty project, and I think it's going to be a lovely school. I wish all of our schools could look like this, to be honest with you. I do also had a concern about when Donna mentioned and Frank alluded to the idea that we're not finding the contractors to do the work. So I really started worrying about all the projects that are going to be coming up, and how do we find the right people to do it in time and provide the right incentives and disincentives for them not to do that. So that's a big issue. I had a couple questions on the financing of the project. And when I first came to the board, this was already on the drawing board. And, you know, it was a pie in the sky because the economy had gone sideways. And you know, people have been talking about it, but it didn't seem like it was ever going to come to fruition. As the economy grew and as we looked at the potential, you know, or the bonds that we passed, and we looked at, you know, state matching funds, which we've used or utilized in the past for a lot of different projects, the numbers that were thrown out were, it started at $5 million. It would be the district's responsibility. Then I heard 6, so it had changed over a period of time. Maybe, and the group in front of me may not have the history and background to answer these questions. I really don't know. But when I look at your report now, it says that the original contract amount was 8838, so 900,000, and now we have change orders to the tune of 700,000. So we're talking close to $10 million, which would be close to the $5 million, district responsibility and $5 million for matching funds. Is that correct at this time? So that half of this, whatever is here now, and your financial impact is going to be paid for by the state. Is that correct? Correct. So where do we get the money at this point to pay for all of this? Have we sold the bonds to do this yet?
Yes, we did sell bonds last year to help fund this.
Okay. To help fund it, Stephen, is that the entire amount is coming from bonds then?
Our portion of it, yes.
The funding from the state.
Yeah, right. No, our portion of it's all coming from bonds, right,
Correct.
at this point? Okay,
Correct.
all right. And how does the state function? They say you spend the money and we send you a check for the amount you spend, or they give us a lump sum, or?
I haven't done this part before, but what they do is you submit a budget when the project is done.
Okay.
And then you submit that budget to them. They review that budget, go over it, look at all the invoices and all of that, and then they make their determination as to whether or not they accept the budget, and then they fund you accordingly.
Okay. So when you say fund accordingly, is there potential that they may not give us the full amount?
Only if there were charges in there or invoices that they didn't feel were pertinent to that, but with what we've done there and the work that we've done, I don't see that being a problem.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Larry?
I thought that we did have that provision where we looked at the quality of the contractor. We didn't have to take the lowest bid, because I remember sometime in the past, the project, the lowest bidder didn't get it, and they came forward and they made us walk, and then we said that. But I just wanted to make that remark. I'm not sure.
So there are, go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead. You want to respond to that?
There are requirements now to pre-qualify general contractors and mechanical and electrical contractors, and that's a state law requirement. And so that process has gone through. That's very much kind of a minimum qualification process, I guess, is how I'd characterize that.
Well,
so that may be what you're remembering.
Could have we researched this construction company's past performance to see if they've had previous delays? Usually people act out of their character doesn't change. They might have had past performance problems that we could have researched.
You could have, but under the rules of the pre-qualification process, there's a very limited number of things that you can that are grounds for not qualification.
Okay, but we do have the ability to alter that if we go into another.
I'm not an expert on that, so there are some rules around that, but it is very restricted, and it does not it is very restricted, and also has to be kind of very objective in a way.
I would think we need to explore that situation to see just how much leeway we do, so we can really look at the past performance. And secondly, I think where we're at now is transparency. So I think what we need to do is really have a presentation to the parents as to what has happened and why, because they're going to be 5 times more frustrated than the board because they're planning on getting in there, and the teachers also. And then also on the projects as we go forward, I think the labor shortage is a reality here that we've heard about, and I think that needs to be explained to the particular schools and the community that's involved in a very upfront way. Say, don't get your heart set on the deadlines because there could be problems or experiencing problems in the county. And I'm sure we're not the only district that's experiencing this.
No.
So I think we need to do a public relations effort as to how we're spending the bond money and why, and what are the real issues, and just what we're confronted with. All right, and I do think it's a beautiful school, and it's going to be a wonderful education experience for them. So thank you.
Rick?
And just to let all the directors know, we did meet with Mr. Gaudreau and site staff today, went through the presentation with them to update them on where we're at in the process and the project, what our next steps were, and what they could expect in terms of a finished school when they're able to re-enter that. And I felt it was a positive meeting with staff. We'll certainly do the same for parents as well.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any other questions. Diane, did you want to say something?
Just that the questions and the concerns that were brought up tonight are very much the same concerns I have and have had conversations with staff around this. And so what I want and what I hear the board wants are some answers. And so what happens if? So we're going to take this time, like from now until the October date, the beginning of October date, and I'm sure that our staff has made it very clear what needs to happen in terms of the construction company. And so at that point, we will do a check to see where we are. At the same time, we want to know, the board wants to know what the recourse is. That's what I'm hearing, okay? Because otherwise, we're going to be potentially held over a barrel until who knows when the project is done. And so that means not only from a construction end, but I also need legal. We need to find out legally what our options are in case we continue to have these issues. Did I hear the board correctly in that?
Yes.
Is that, okay, all right. So that will be our next step. I would plan that we have another presentation in a month, so 2 board meetings from now. Let's bring this item back. Would that be the pleasure of the board as well?
Yes, that'd be
Okay,
appreciated.
all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to F3, the Illuminate Education DNA and Student Information System Overview.
You get this. What? Oh, this computer. I hate these things.
Good evening again. Very excited to bring this update to you about Illuminate Education, the student information system and data management system that we talked about in the spring, eventually approved and purchased for implementation this summer. Tonight, we're going to focus on the data and analytics software, which is completely different than the student information system. We'll talk more about that through the presentation. And give you an update on where we've been this summer with this and what we've done and where we're going. So to my right is Rand Van Dyke, Director of Data Testing and Assessment, and he will lead this discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Edson. And thank you, Mr. Edson, because he's going to be my Vanna White. So up in front of you have the 2 main products that we're talking about tonight. As Rick mentioned, DNA is the analytics side of Illuminate Education's product, and ISI, which they refer to as Illuminate Student Information, that's their student information side. And we're going to focus on, at the first part, about what we've done with the DNA implementation. So DNA is up and running today. It is the ORS replacement. You'll recall previously that ORS was purchased by Illuminate Education. During the IAT 2016, we had 35 DNA training sessions, and I noticed that Mr. Christoph ducked out. He went to one of the sessions himself. He wants a username and password so he can play around with it. So initial data for DNA was uploaded back in July. We've been spending our time tweaking, cleaning, getting it right and polished. We've been adding data sets as they come, and in fact, the Smarter Balance testing data was uploaded recently into DNA for teachers to access. The ISI component of Illuminate Education, that's the student information piece. We will transition to that system over the course of the 2016-17 school year, meaning We won't do any of our student information work in that system, but we will take all of our data from our existing system, put it into the new system. We'll work on a training schedule, that kind of stuff during the school year. In August of 2017, next August, DNA and ISI together will be tied together in the Illuminate education system. So the product that the teachers were introduced to and initially trained on has the same look and feel, so there's additional components to it. It won't be a completely new thing when they see it in August of 2017. All right, and next one. Thank you. These are some of the benefits that the teachers had the opportunity to experience during the initial DNA training at IAT 2016. These are available for use by teachers today. As I said earlier, uploading of data is an ongoing process. We are anxiously awaiting Illuminate Ed's conversion of the ORS data. I check on about a weekly basis with our implementation manager, and they're making progress. Hopefully that'll be in soon. And we're going to be setting up a nightly extract from our current system so that student information is up to date the next morning. So every night we'll do an automatic process. The next morning the teachers will see their current students available for them. And our current timeline for the implementation of DNA and the process for the transition to the student information system is up above. And one of our next immediate steps will be setting the Student Information Selection Committee, bringing them back together for their guidance and input in the process as we move forward in this transition. Any questions?
When I was reading this, just trying to understand, is this similar to EDIMS? Are you familiar with that program?
No.
Okay.
What does it do?
It's kind of somewhat similar to what's used in my district, but I was just wondering if this...
The DNA part is for studying the testing data. It's a place to house testing data. We have some teachers that are going to pilot the gradebook portion of it. So it's that end of it. It's not grades and attendance and transcripts.
Or like assessments and
Yeah.
comparing a student performances on an assessment, things
Yes.
like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Jen?
Why are we delaying the rollout of the student information system? Is it just so the teachers only have to adapt to one thing at a time, or what, is there another reason?
Well, it's actually multiple things. In working with Illuminate Education, they actually have an entire philosophy on the rollout of a student information system. And admittedly, I wanted to be rather aggressive in getting it done because I was anxious myself. I've been working with the current system and really like what's coming forward, but it became clear that the massive amount of information we needed to move and the amount of training that was necessary wasn't making just us a bit uncomfortable in the IT department, but we were hearing the same thing from teachers as well. They want to make sure that we take our time and implement it strongly, correctly, so that we have a system that everybody is really excited to use and ready for when we bring it on board.
Thank you for that. The other question I have is, are we rolling it out in the same, or is the timeline the same for both the elementary and the high school districts?
Yes, it's available to everybody today.
And just to go further with Rand's comment, another reason is there is still very bad feelings about the way eSchool Plus was rolled out, how that was handled, the transition or lack of transition plan from the previous system to that. I've heard that since the first day I came to Santa Rosa City Schools and have heard it almost every day since. It seems like we listened, we heard all of that. We heard the committee talk about doing this the right way and really taking this opportunity to take a system that is new to the district, new to everyone here, and going through it and making the customizations that we need to do, make sure the rights are set up, make sure that training is there for teachers, make sure they have an input in that training and how that's rolled out, make sure that our administrators at the site level get a say in what they need it to do, and so we can do it one time, do it hopefully the correct way moving forward, have plenty of time for training over the course of winter and spring for the staff that'll use it in their classrooms daily, and then be really prepared to start, August, whatever we're going to start next year, August 15th or 18th, rather than trying to do a rushed implementation after the selection. We know we have or continue to have some issues with data. This is helping us go through the process of cleaning that data, so the new data going into the system is cleaner than what we currently experience on a daily basis, and really getting to shore things up before we move into this new system so we have a higher probability of initial success.
Larry.
Well, something's going right because I'm not getting a lot of complaints, and before we sure heard it too. And the training, Rick, I want you to talk a little bit about that training that you had, and I want you to tell you about what you told me today about that, the comment that you got from the trainers.
Yeah, sure. So I had the opportunity today for Mr. Handel to drop by my office for some technical support. And
For his device.
For his device,
Yes,
yes, to make sure.
Not my brain.
While he was there, I took the opportunity to show him some of the work that we're doing in the technology department with, the large infrastructure project that's going on, the rebuilding of the data center, and how we're consolidating equipment and making life easier for all of us in the technology department, as well as the accessibility that students, teachers, and staff have now to technology resources, both within our network and on the internet in general. I was very proud and humbled at the IAT 2016 training one, because the work that we have been doing was dramatically showcased, to put it bluntly. We had, roughly 1,000 users per day connecting to wireless at one school site, and we only had one minimal outage of one access point that was quickly resolved by Mr. Bika and the rest of the IT staff. At the end of the training, we were complimented that the presenters who came from all across America and other parts of the world were very impressed with the capabilities of our system, that they had no issues with capacity, bandwidth, or people being able to access the resources that they store in the cloud. So that's a great compliment to an IT department, to a district, and to a board who's supporting these initiatives. So I will say thank you as well. As we did earlier tonight, we approved the second phase of that wireless implementation, and it's only getting better.
So
And thank you for just 1 second.
You and Rand are awesome. I really, really mean that. You guys are doing a great job, and I think the teachers are, and the committee that meets is right on board with, getting the whole district together in the direction that we move. And it's great. Thank the public for the approximately $12 million it's taking to get this system up and rolling and getting it done correctly. And what Rick told me today, we're going to be right at the top of where anybody really is in the state. And it should, we talked a little bit about what happens 10 years from now, et cetera. By that time, I think, Rick, will have little computer devices in your brains, and you guys can make decisions really easily. Thank you.
Ron.
Well, I want to say something that is, I think, a reflection of several teachers I talked to during the training. And part of the, I did my typical thing all through school. I went into one of the workshops to learn the basic training for, and I didn't go to the advanced class, for the new student information system, and went to, of course, the back row and slinked down and tried to be, nondescript back there. And what I didn't do was get the name of the instructor. She was wonderful. She was just a very gentle, thoughtful, and a very good teacher, and was willing to work with people quickly so she could keep the class going. And my hand was up probably more than anybody else's. But what I did realize after talking to several people in that room was they immediately could see in this general kind of presentation that there were connections that they could use in the classroom and make what they were doing better. And that bodes well, for me, because I'm seeing that, they're already thinking now. The one gal was a drama teacher that sat next to me. She had a very different way of looking at what she could use than the person next to me who was a math teacher. But what I did come away with is partly what Jen asked about the training. I know that it's going to need to be differentiated is what it amounts to, and it's going to take some time. There's a lot of potential there, and part of it's the logistics of getting everything up and running, but a part of it's going to be when the teachers have time to learn this stuff as well. And so, anyway, I'm hopeful is what I'm saying. And I think it's, when people get excited about something new that might have really real-world applications, you don't see that a lot sometimes. And this is, it was good. It was a good day for me anyway. Thank you.
Jenny, do you want to add to that?
Yes, that actually just reminded me that I was talking to a teacher who was telling me that all IT classes are somewhat challenging because everyone has such different collections of knowledge. They all have like little spotty knowledge because they've had to learn something, and so half the class is really useful and half the class isn't, and that is really typical in IT classes just because of how we all have to learn stuff individually. And it made me wonder whether or not there's a way to do kind of training modules like online, like little Khan Academy things, so that you can pick and choose exactly what you need to learn and skip the things you already know.
Definitely, and we're looking at that through some different ways of doing that, including utilizing our TOSAs in the district, as well as some outside resources that we can, embed on our own websites to differentiate some of that instruction.
Rick brings up a great reminder. We have a number of teachers that are newly Google certified, and a number coming up, and we really want to be able to utilize their talents and expertise with some of the things that Rick's talking about. So we look forward to bringing that forward about the number of teachers that have gone through all of the training to become certified Google Apps for Education educators.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you very much. Now we move on to F4, multi-year fiscal planning. Discussion item.
Thank you, President Jay, Directors, Superintendent Kitamura. If we can get it to come up. There we go. Why is this not getting any bigger, Rick? Okay. Okay. In June, when we presented the 2016-17 budget, and along with the 2 out years for through 2018-19, if you remember, that showed that there was a structural deficit in each of the years, including this year and the 2 out years. And also in the third year, we weren't going to be able to reach the 3% reserve required by the state. We also learned that with the budgets that we submitted for our first interim for this year, that SCO wanted to see a fiscal recovery plan submitted with our first interim report. And so the fiscal recovery plan will be a roadmap of how we can address those structural deficits and what we can do to look at increasing revenues and reducing expenditures. With the goal of doing that, but also maintaining the fiscal sustainability of the district. Here are some important factors that you've seen before that go into the development of the budget. And this shows the PERS and STIRS obligations that the district is required to make each year. And as you can see, those are going up each year. You can see what they were in 2015-16 and what the projection is for 2018-19. So over that span of a few years, it's gone up, will go up almost $5 million. If you couple that with the declining new funding through LCFF, and what's causing that is as we get closer and closer to full implementation, which was originally set up for 2021, there's a smaller amount each year of that, what that gap is. In addition, the gap funding percentage that's applied to that amount is getting smaller and smaller each year. So what you're doing is taking a smaller percentage times a smaller amount each year. You couple that with this, and then also with the reduced funding from the state and the federal government for special education, it just adds to the adverse effect on the budget each year. Here's a slide that was in the, presented in the budget adoption as well, and it shows the multi-year projection, and you can see there the excess or deficiency is the projected deficit spending each year, and then you can see the projected ending balance and also the reserve percentage, which is required by law to be 3% each year. If you look in the 2016-17 column, where it says in parentheses 7.71 million, I wanted to remind the board that that is one-time money that we receive from the state, and that has been earmarked for instructional materials. And as I said, the recovery plan provides a mechanism through which we'll analyze specific components of the budget with the goal of identifying opportunities to increase revenue and also reduce expenditures, all with the goal of maintaining fiscal sustainability of the district, and also be able to ensure that we maintain our 3% reserve as required by the state. One of the tools that we're recommending be used for the implementation and the creation of the fiscal recovery plan is the creation of an ad hoc fiscal recovery plan committee that would look at specifically addressing the structural deficit in ways that we can increase revenue and reduce expenditures. And here you can see the proposed membership of the committee, but then also some of the roles of the committee as we envision it as well. Another tool that we envision using is this worksheet, and you can see that there are major categories here, and by no means is this all inclusive. This is just to give you an idea of what the worksheet looks like and how it may be able to be used. And so you go through the different categories, and then you can put in the different ideas that we're looking at in terms of ways that we may increase revenues, reduce expenditures, when that may hit, what impact that would have on the budget, when it may have the impact on the budget, and then what the total would be over the 3 years. And then this is something that every year as we go on, there would be another year that would be added as we move forward. What you don't see on the bottom here, and this is in your packet, is it shows a total for each of the, like for example in column D where it says additional 2016-17 proposed budget reductions. On the full worksheet, it shows a total of all the proposals in that, and then on the bottom, it also shows what the projected deficit is, and then a net of what the proposals are against what the deficit is. And here you can see some of the purposes for the worksheet. Again, what we're doing is we're looking at identifying ideas that we can evaluate, that we can look at and identify and prioritize, which items do we need to do, which items will have the most impact, and then also look at the feasibility of those, and also look at the programmatic impact of them as well. And this is a proposed timeline for the committee and also the development of a draft plan that would be presented to the board as it's stated here on November 9th. And then it would be that draft plan, if approved by the board and implemented, that would be included in the first interim presentation that we make in December. And with that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Larry?
It's not really a question. We definitely have fiscal challenges with STRS and our budget. I just want to make a comment that I think this is really a great idea to have teachers, administrators, our employees part of a committee that's going to look at our budget, and our budget then is transparent, and hopefully everybody can get a full understanding, and we're all working together for the same goal. We can come up with ideas and points to make and how to solve this problem, which is inherent to our district. Thank you.
Whatever he said, I agree with him. Jen, did you want to say something? I agree. Okay. Any other comments, questions? No. Unfortunate. Thanks for the report. Diane, did you want to say
You're
anything to this? Thank you. So this is our first action item this evening, approval of resolution recognizing September as Attendance Awareness Month. Need a motion?
So
If no one's
moved.
been discussing.
Second.
That was moved by Frank and seconded by
Couldn't get there fast
Larry.
enough.
Roll call vote?
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
President Jay?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye.
Thank you. F6 now. This is our second action item for this evening and our last item. It's approval of a resolution recognizing September 15th to October 15th, 2016 as Hispanic Heritage Month.
So moved.
Second.
That was moved by Director Pugh, seconded by Director Gonzalez. Roll call vote, please.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
President Jay?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye.
Well, thank you, everyone. Our meeting is adjourned.